I
Uh,
understand.
Rick and I have been working with them to get them to add a bologna sandwich to the menu. We are bologna sandwich connoisseurs.
I went wide open, hoping for a little taste of that unknowing. Living in a fast car days.
It's all good.
It's gonna be like GameStop stock. You know what I mean?
Maybe they'll make a movie about us someday.
Yeah, we're gonna keep pushing.
Oh my God. All right, let's get started. Welcome to another edition of Checkers, Wreckers, and What the Heckers.
What the heckers?
My name is Chad Bearden. I am a country music artist, content
Sure.
creator, NASCAR super fan.
All
I
the
am
above.
joined by two of the industry's best. As always, the man, the myth, the legend, hailing from the great state of Ohio. I say that with
OH, baby.
I'm choking down a little bit of uh
Don't worry.
anyways, the
National champions, you own it.
the man, the myth, the legend, the best hair in the continental
Thank you very
US.
much.
Yes, ladies and
Let it
gentlemen, at
let it
track
go.
at track VIP coordinator for Haas Factory team. Make some noise for Mr. Rick Kojan.
Golf clap.
The
There
best
you
in the
go.
business. The best in the business.
The
Shit.
best in the business. Oh my gosh. What is
I'm
he
at
the
least
what
enthusiastic, if anything.
what is he the best at though? Is
Listen,
the
he
the
knows how to
question.
work those. He knows how to work those sponsors and those guests.
He does know how to do that. I
He
saw
makes
it
them feel
in
like they're on top of the world, top notch. You know, nothing could be better in this situation. He wines and dines them, man.
I
I
I've seen it
appreciate you guys.
firsthand.
You guys are really gussying me up. I like to think of myself as the Johnny Appleseed of NASCAR. And I'm just spreading those seeds. Some take root, some fall off the road, but we're going to keep spreading them.
Yeah.
I like it. All right. Also joining us, making this podcast look much better and much more knowledgeable
Ellie,
from Hendrick Motorsports, the fastest man in all of North Carolina, and we mean on the track, both
fast.
both the foot track and the racetrack, as
Those
was
are facts.
demonstrated this weekend. Holy crap! Holy crap! At track, IT guy for Hendrick Motorsports, Chris Justice in the house.
Hey, thank you, guys. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Glad to be back. Been waiting all weekend for this moment.
It's been so much anticipated. Our viewership did go up. We got more comments this
Ah,
week.
nice.
We doubled our number of comments than we usually get.
From one
Um,
to two.
yeah, yeah, doubling
Hey,
up.
that's in the right direction.
It is.
Hey, we're trending. We're trending.
That's it. Going up to the moon. Here we
Yeah,
go.
Chad, let me ask you, how many
ask
years
away.
in the industry do you have?
How many friends in the industry?
How many years working in the industry?
In NASCAR?
Yeah.
None besides showing up and playing my guitar for them.
Ask me the same question.
Rick, how many years do you have in the NASCAR industry?
Working in the industry, 3 to 4. Chris Justice, how many you got?
This right here makes 20. 20 years in the
That's why we're trending, Chad, because we're getting better. We're bringing in high quality talent to this team. Come on.
Come on.
Let's go.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
this is
do it.
20,
Let's
20
go.
across
Shame,
all three
shame us
series, you
on
know?
shame us on trucks. Let's go.
Yeah. So
Let's
we headed out to Kansas and man, it was a wild one in Kansas. Rick, I gotta know, did you watch the truck race this week?
Like I said, Chad, shame us.
shame you. Shame you.
Oh,
Oh, you
Chris
watch?
watched the truck race. He texted me and said, I'm doing my homework. I'm watching the truck race.
Now the pressure's on. All right, I'll take this humble pie. Go ahead.
Pressure zone.
All right, let's talk some checkers for trucks. It was ARCA trucks and Xfinity. We're not doing ARCA this week. Calm down, Rick. It's
I'm
all right.
sure we're gonna be, and you're gonna make fun of us,
My
but go
my
ahead.
my buddy Brent Stover was on the call again. So excited about that. But anyways, let's talk trucks. My checkers for trucks was the finish. Um, Lane Riggs closes a 2-second gap to Carson Hocevar in the last 15 or so laps, catches him. The 7 goes down, tries to block him. They get into each other. They both get sideways. They both save it. They drag race back to the line. Hocevar pulls out the win, but holy crap. And apparently pulls out the win while also flipping Lane Riggs the bird
Oh, he
on
told
the
me he was number one. Actually, he
on
was
the
running number 2, but
on the drag race to the finish. And then unfortunately for Lane Riggs, apparently he got disqualified after the race as well. But the racing at the end, the finish gets my checkers. Chris, what you got?
Listen, I was going to say the same thing. That finish in that race, I haven't watched a lot of truck races over the past few years, but that finish was something to watch. Scott Riggs laid it all out there. Win, lose, or draw.
Lane Riggs.
Lane Riggs, sorry. Lane Riggs.
Scott's his uncle, I think.
They're the rig guy. Yeah. So anyway, he held it out there, man. Like he left it all on the track, and that's what you want to see, right? Those truck series drivers are going to be the next guys moving up, you hope, right?
Right.
So if they're going for it now, when they go to those Xfinity cars and then the Cup cars, hopefully they keep that same enthusiasm.
Right.
Absolutely.
Rick, anything you want to add?
No, you guys seem to cover it for me so much so that you make up for my embarrassing inability to watch the truck race.
All right. So wreckers for me for the trucks. Corey Haim gets black flagged and a pass-through penalty for jumping out of line too early on a restart after Frankie Muniz, bless his heart, his troubles continue. But Frankie Muniz spins through the grass and gets the caution. But Corey Haim, who had another dominant truck again, gets black flagged after staying out after they told him, but has to come through and gets a pass through penalty, wrecks his day. Still think he rebounded and got a top 10 even after that, but
he was P3 at the end.
Holy crap. Yeah.
P3 at the end.
Yeah. So that's my records. What you got, Chris?
My records is going to be Muniz for wrecking.
Damn. I think that's 2 in a row you've given him. That much
Poor
I'm paying
Frankie.
attention to.
Poor Frankie.
I mean, yeah, he was trying to avoid somebody slow, but like, you didn't see the guy when you went in the corner slow down low. You know what I mean? Like, I know there's a big speed gap, right? Like, you're doing 120 and he's doing 89. You run up on him fast, right? I understand that. But at the same time, you've been driving long enough now to avoid that guy and not spin out.
Frankie is never coming on this podcast.
I wish he would. I mean, I think he'll be a cool guy, but like
100%. And I hope he has success in NASCAR. I want that guy to succeed so bad.
For sure.
And I think he wants to succeed so bad too. That's why he gets so frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason to root against him. We all agree.
No. I understand.
Yeah, he's such a like personable and likable person. Like every time he talks to he's just so grateful to be there. He doesn't come in with any arrogance, any of that. So
he doesn't push his TV stardom around.
Right.
He's just a regular guy trying to compete in racing.
Yeah. So you can't help but root for him.
Yep.
My what the heckers for the trucks. NASCAR holds the 26 truck for 2 laps for intentionally spinning himself to cause a caution.
On pit road.
Yes. And the 98 for 1 lap for fueling twice. These were at least, I mean, I don't really know the rule around the fueling twice for the 98 and what that rule is exactly, but I also just don't know how in the moment, unless there was some kind of radio traffic, how does NASCAR make that call that says that the 26 intentionally spun himself on pit road to bring out the caution?
You might be able to use some of that
SMT data, but
OTD data. You can see that wheel turn and the gas go. Maybe. I don't even know if they have that over there though. They might not even have the OTD data in the truck series.
yeah, that's pretty quick analyzing though. I mean, they literally did not let the guy leave his pit stall. So you're talking within 30 seconds if the guy's making a 15, 12
Right.
second pit stop, getting
Right.
to his pit stall, making the pit stop. NASCAR makes this decision in less than a minute and holds him there. Like,
Yeah.
What about something said over the radio?
that's what I'm saying. Unless, and that's what the broadcast said, but they didn't seem to find anything. So, unless there's something blatant and you have you know, a, and I hate to throw my guy under the bus here, but, the Michael Waltrip controversy of Darlington back in the day, you know, uh, I just don't know. I'm not saying the guy didn't do it, but I don't know how NASCAR makes that determination in
That fast.
60 seconds, puts the guy, I don't remember how many laps down it put him, but I mean, I guess they held him for 2 laps, plus he's got to get back to speed.
Mhm.
Well, I
His
guess
day
it
was
did
over.
cause a caution, so they did throw the caution, but at least 2 laps down. I mean, that's
Maybe it was premature, you know. I don't know. Maybe they just rushed to judgment. He was on pit road, obviously in trouble, and he loops it right there at the time. I mean, at the pit entry, right? So
yeah,
I don't know.
and I mean, I'm all for it, NASCAR taking steps in race to do things,
But you
but
got to be consistent.
right. And I think they're working towards that. And again, we talked a couple weeks ago about how I'm not a fan of the disqualification. Um, I don't like how NASCAR has now started to more consistently disqualify people after the race, especially in race win situations.
I agree.
Um,
You passed tech twice. You know what I mean? Now
well,
all of
yeah,
a sudden I'm illegal.
well, not just that. My feeling is, as a fan, you're taking away my fan experience because whether it was for the guy who initially won the race or for
Mhm.
the guy who was handed the race after the disqualification, as a fan, if I'm a fan of the guy who won the race, I just celebrated my driver winning.
Right.
I got to have that moment, and now you tell me that moment isn't real.
What about those guys who's playing the odds and that guy wins?
That's the conversation Rick and I had. Like, how does that work with Vegas?
Yeah, do
Like,
they still pay out or what?
yeah, that's and I still haven't gotten an answer to that. I still don't know that. Um, so
But at the end of the day, they're going to do that stuff. This is big league sports. They want
Yeah.
to get it right. They want to keep cheating out of there.
but again, and I don't have a problem with that. But we were for years doing NASCAR was saying, hey, if you do this stuff, we're giving you an L1 penalty. We're going to dock you 100 drivers points. We're going to dock you 100 owners points, $100,000. Essentially, we're going to give you the death nail if you do
Yeah.
this stuff. And and the DQ is probably half that. It's just more embarrassing. And again, to the fan, you're taking away our experience of what happened at the track.
Right.
So I would much rather NASCAR on Tuesday say, hey, you violated this. We're going to throw the freaking book at you. We're going to nail you to the wall. You're going to pay for what I have zero problem with that. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's my favorite driver. If my guy wins the race and then afterwards he fails tech, hammer him. I don't
Right.
care. But don't
Right.
take the
Right.
win away because that takes away my experience as a fan. And sooner or later, fans are going to get frustrated and are going to get tired of spending money to go to the track to not be sure who wins the race.
Well, it's already there. Look at attendance now. You
I mean,
know,
how
even
much
as the
more?
old guy, when back in the early 2000s when I started, you had places that were jam packed full.
Right. And I think it's, it's an up and down thing. And again,
Yeah,
I'm
fan
not
viewing has changed though, man. You can consume the race a lot of different ways nowadays, other than just your mainline broadcast
100%.
and going to the track. There's lots of other distractions in the world today.
Right. And
Oh, that's true. Very true.
but I will say there is nothing cooler than being at the track. If
I
you
get
want
it.
to, if you want to convert somebody to this
I get
sport,
it.
if you want to make them a fan, you got to bring them to the track.
Yeah.
So if NASCAR does not want to continue to push people away, I think you have to stop with the disqualifications. Again, level the penalties, nail them, hit them as hard as you possibly can, but stop taking away from the fan experience of it.
No, that's a good one. All right, so my records for this truck series is
Your wreckers or what the
Matt
heckers?
I mean, my where we at? What the heckers?
What the heckers?
Yeah, your records was Munoz, buddy. You know what?
What the heckers? My what the heckers is Matt Crafton. Like this guy's been racing forever, and like he's supposed to be dominating at this age and his stage of racing, right?
Right.
We ain't seen him in the top 10 in forever.
Wow.
Yeah, he missed the playoffs last year, right?
Struggle.
Well,
I mean,
was
struggle
the first year, I think last year he missed the playoffs.
He's good equipment.
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's fair. I don't know what's going on with him.
Me neither. I mean, he's been in the truck series. I mean, he was in the truck series when I started in the truck series 20 years ago.
I'm doing a little research here.
All right.
I'm looking. Frankie Muniz, by the way, I think I called him Munoz. Muniz is 24th in points. Let's just set that. Matt Crafton, 15th.
I mean, look at that. That says a lot for the actor guy.
Yeah, Matt Crafton, 15th, to your point.
So if the playoffs were to start today, he would still be outside the playoffs.
Still be outside.
Right, because they take less cars and trucks.
Yep, with all that experience.
They take less vehicles in trucks. That makes more sense.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to Cup. Ricky, I know you got a checkers for us for Cup at Kansas.
Listen, because of my piss poor performance in viewing the truck race, I feel I'm really coming strong. Like, I'm going to give you a checkers that many are going to say is obvious. But then when I give you the level of detail to how big that checkered flag is, you guys are going to be like, man, this guy's done his homework. So first of all, you probably know. Who am I giving the checkers to?
I'm going to say probably Larson.
Oh, come on. Now listen, it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to fact check it. And that's why we do this, to expand horizons and education and let people learn something new, right? What's the obvious? He dominated the race, yes?
Yes.
Correct.
He went max points.
Yes.
Winning stage one.
Go ahead, Chris. Yep.
And winning the race.
And got the fastest lap.
How many points?
Oh, I didn't do the math on it.
Come on, super. No, I'm talking to super fan.
So 30 points in stages, and then he got the extra bonus point for running the fastest lap.
Very nice. Very nice. The extra point, that Xfinity is in there now.
Yes.
Xfinity fastest lap. So he gets 10 points for the first stage, 10 points for the second stage, wins the race, gets the 10 plus what you get. It's 61 points, okay? Fact number one. Fact number two, dude led 220 laps. Okay? Who sat on the pole? Who sat on the pole for that race, my esteemed colleagues?
He did.
Okay. We're doing pretty good.
Seems like it was a Hendrick car.
Who has now led over 10,000 laps in his career?
He is one of only 3 active drivers to do it.
Thank you, superfan. What driver has now led the most laps at Kansas?
He has.
Thank you, superfan. Anybody know how old Kyle Larson is?
32, I believe.
Look at this. I'm telling you, you guys are fantastic. I couldn't ask for better people to do this with.
Listen,
32 years old, and how many races has he won in Cup? There's a hint.
32.
Boom! 32 and 32. It was the 14th time in his career at the Cup level that he swept the stages.
Yeah. Listen,
You might want to fact check that, super fan, on your boy Kyle Busch. I don't know how many Kyle Busch has, but
in stage 1, Larson had lapped all the way up to the 20th position.
Look at us going. All right. I got another one. I'm not quite done with this checkers. I told you it's a big checkers. Kyle Larson, along with Christopher Bell, have won half the races this year. What? Let me try that again. We've run 12. They've won 6.
3
Everybody
apiece.
got that?
Yeah, 3 apiece.
All right. Now I'm going to give you the final 2 pieces of the checker that make this id so magical. It was the 3rd day of 11 straight that he'll be in a race car. 3rd day of 11 straight that he'll be in a race car of some sort. That could be a wing sprint. That could be an Indy car. That's ridiculous. And now I'll give you the last one, and you guys can look this up yourself on DraftKings. Who is the current number 4 betting favorite for the Indianapolis 500?
Let me guess. Mr. Larson. He's Mr. Larson this week.
My checkers is done. Listen, if that wasn't enough and didn't make up for the truck race, I don't know what else to do to impress y'all.
Let me give you one more to add to that, and it's not going to count as much of statistics. So, my little boy who is 6, I try to get him to watch races with me all the time, and he's starting to get into it more and more and more. Before the race started on Sunday, he said, "Daddy, I've picked my favorite driver." He knows I'm a diehard Kyle Busch fan, but I said, "Okay, buddy, who's your favorite driver?" He said, "My favorite driver will forever be the 5-tar of Kyle Larson." And then he watched the whole race with me. He kept saying, "Where's my guy? Where's my guy?" And when Larson dropped to 30, he said, "You got to go, bro. You got to go, bro." And when Larson won, he went nuts. And
That's
I can't
awesome.
tell you how happy that I said, "I don't care. You can be a Larson fan for the rest of your life. I will get you
How
all
old
the
is he?
Larson
What,
gear."
8?
6.
6. All right, well, now you got to get him a Kyle Larson shirt.
100%. I told him I
Into
will
that
go
wall
get
and get that done.
I will
Listen,
go get
I
you
don't,
Kyle
I don't
Larson
know
gear.
now where this leaves you two with your checkers, but who's up next? I'm going to hand it to Mr. Justice.
I'm going to say that was pretty hard to beat because that's obviously a fan favorite.
But you let me go first. You let me go.
Check this out. I think another checker could also be our buddy Josh Berry. He had an absolute rocket ship. I mean, he drove that car from the back to the top 5, stage 1, twice.
Twice he did it.
Yes.
Great call.
Yes. Tip my hat to Josh Berry.
Like that. Well,
Twice, man. And the second time he had to do it was because of a speeding penalty. And you all know how much I hate those speeding penalties. You get a 5-mile-an-hour buffer. Stop speeding. Stop going to the back. Okay, sorry. I had to get that. It's like Tourette's. I can't stop.
I actually had a different checkers than both of you guys.
That's why we have great personalities. 3 different personalities. Go ahead, Chad. What do you got?
My checkers for this week was the tire that Goodyear brought, because I loved the fall off of this tire. I loved that Kyle Larson was courting his tires at the end of stage 1 and stage 2. I loved that at the end of the race, the only little bit of drama we had was, is Kyle Larson going to be able to save these tires enough to get it home? Because he's balls to the wall. He never conserved. He never checked up, never slowed down. And you had guys blowing tires. You had Keselowski. You had these other guys who the tires were failing on them if they did not manage them. I love when Goodyear puts it in the hands of the drivers and says, "You have to manage this tire. If you run it too hard, it will fail." So kudos to Goodyear for the tires that they brought to Kansas. I loved it. I think it was probably maybe the only thing that made this race more interesting, because that created the only little bit of drama that there was.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. You saw it. I mean, look at Keselowski running second, P2. Blows it. Boom, in the wall he goes.
And these guys are pushing the limits on the air pressure on that tire.
Well, now you got to the core of the issue. It's not just the driver.
Right.
It's the team, right, led by the crew chief, who sets that initial air pressure, right? So Goodyear comes out and says, listen, on them rights, we recommend 46. On them lefts, which is the one that really is making a difference for them, I think they recommended 22. Okay? These guys were down in the mid to upper teens. Now, you do that damage early when that thing's squatting down, right, and making power and it's hitting bumps, and you carve up that tire a little bit. Then when it expands on air pressure and builds heat, it blows out. So it's not just the driver managing it. I think it's fair to say the crew has crew chief, let's say, setting that air pressure, because nothing gets past the crew chief. That has a lot to do with the life of that tire.
And that's a very valid point there, Rick. The air pressure also is a big factor in the wear of that tire, along with the compound that they bring.
Yeah.
Right? Because we have had some races where you run out of gas before you run out of tire, which is boring.
Right.
Which so I think was Joey. Wasn't that Joey Logano in last year's All-Star race, which is coming up? Wasn't it an option tire? He just ran the option tire the whole damn race. He's like, they're fine.
They're good.
They're good.
All right, let's record it up, Chris.
My wrecker. Let's see here. Let me go to my notes here. My wrecker might be the 8 spinning.
Oh, that hurts you, Chad. That hurts you.
Well, yeah, it does, because it wasn't even his fault.
It wasn't even his fault. There he is, mixed up in positions where you're not used to seeing Kyle Busch be, right? You're used to Kyle Busch running top 5, fighting for wins, not running for top 25. You know what I mean? So there he is back there in the mix, and around he goes.
Well, in this situation, though, I mean, he's running, 12th, I think.
Yeah.
So he's just outside the top 10, and you've got Chastain on the outside. You have...
They were 4 wide.
You have Josh Berry under Chastain. I'm trying to...
The 99, wasn't it?
No, it was the 4.
Oh,
it was the
Gregson. Yep.
Yeah. And Chastain, for whatever reason, decides he didn't like something Josh Berry did, apparently.
Well, he was running him hard in the corner.
According to the radio. And Chastain swerves down into Berry. Berry swerves to miss him. Gregson swerves to miss Berry. And Kyle's just
there he
out
is
to dry.
There he is.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I mean, that's on the 1 car. Frickin' Melon Man. Always. That was my what the heckers, by the way.
The Melon Man.
Oh, you took your what the heckers? Well, what's your wreckers? Come on.
My wreckers was Denny Hamlin's clutch. Thing
took him out.
Man, Denny had a rocket ship. And he was coming on strong. I think he might have been the one guy that, had he not had that issue, maybe could have give Larson at least a challenge.
Or maybe even Barry. Yeah, him and Barry for sure. They had the speed.
At the end of the race. When the clutch started going, I mean, he did everything he could to try to get through it. And then eventually the transmission gave out. Hate it. Sucks. So yeah, that's my wreckers.
That's a good wreckers right there. That's a good wreckers, because they definitely brought a rocket ship from that Joe Gibbs camp last week with him.
What you got, Ricky?
Well, we all seem to be honing in, and it's funny how we're exchanging each other's wreckers and what the heckers. Chris laid this one out there for me. My wreckers goes to Brad Keselowski. And it goes to Brad Keselowski, not just for the effort here in this Kansas race, but I got to be honest with you. Can this guy's luck be any worse this year? I mean, this was a fast car. As Chris mentioned, it was running second when he went into the wall, okay? And all things said and done, the man is 33 33rd in points.
Mm-hmm.
33rd in points, which is clearly in a win or you're not in playoff position. But worse, and I think this speaks to racing luck and karma as much as it does to his overall performance, because people that are calling for, oh, maybe it's time for Brad to hang it up and focus on being the owner. That's not it at all. But if you look at the racing karma and the luck, Preece is 16th in points and Buescher's 12th. That's a lot of disparity between 3 RFK cars. So my records goes to that blown tire and Keselowski, but it's more a total picture painted of what is up with this guy this year at 33rd in points.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even thought that Buescher was that high. I mean, Preece seemed to carry RFK this year. He obviously got the DQ at Talladega and
that's
got involved.
That's what dropped his points right there.
Yeah, but he has been the one for them that's been up front and been talked about all season. If Buescher's there in 12, he's been kind of under the radar sliding in. But yeah, man, Brad just cannot catch a break
at all.
And in that race, both those RFK cars finished top 10. I'd be remiss if I didn't throw it out to my boy Preece. I wish you could hear me homering on him, but I think he was 7th. So both those cars finished top 10 while Brad wrecks and finishes, 36, 37, 38. Just terrible.
And he wrecks with a rocket ship too.
Yep, fast car.
Car.
Pit crew did a good job putting him in a great position. Yeah. Did we what the heck it up? Was that everybody?
Didn't what the heck it yet.
All right, Chris, you got a what the heck?
My what the heck. I was gonna put the what the heck on the clutch on Denny Hamlin. That was my what the heck. You hate to go out of a race with a mechanical failure like that. You know what I mean? That's like your day getting destroyed off of a $2 spark plug. You know what I mean? You do everything you're supposed to do, and you have a failure like that. That's my what the heckers.
And Chris, let's take it a step further. Since the inception of this car 4 years ago that we used to call Next Gen, and now we're going to try and commit ourselves to calling it Gen 7, there's been very, very few clutch / I don't want to call it a transmission because it's not. It's actually a transaxle in this car. Very few. So you hit 1A of my what the heckers, which was Hamlin, this clutch issue, but just the fact, very rare. Right. But for the people who don't think, like, you still got to shift these cars, at speed, they're bumping that transaxle up, down, up, down. But to get that car slowed down on the pit road or to get it to launch after a pit stop, which clearly is what broke the car and he struggled with, you need the clutch. So, pretty rare, man. Right.
Yep. It's pretty rare. You don't hear a lot of that. You hear a lot of toe links and all that kind of other suspension components, but you never hear about the transaxles failing.
And let's be honest, that was another car, right, that, like Chad touched on, that probably had a little bit for Larson had it played out differently. That car was super fast.
I mean, even with the transmission issue, he was passing guys like they were standing still.
Sure, because once he's at speed, that tranny doesn't even that transaxle doesn't even come into play. The bigger thing was the spots that he lost on pit road. Getting that dog to engage and get going, he ate him back up and made up spots once he was back on. So Hamlin was fast.
And one of those pit stops, not only did they have the issue with the transmission where they had to push him off, but they also lost the lug nut and had to chase down a lug nut.
They did.
So, that, again, just goes to speak to how fast that car was.
Yeah.
What was your 1B?
For what the heck, I had what the heck with Josh Berry. And then we've talked about it, but it was the same thing that's been said. Just so damn fast. I understand why he had to start in the back at the beginning, right? Because in qualifying, if you flatten those tires, people got to understand those cars ride low to begin with. You start skinning stuff off the bottom of that car, especially that rear diffuser, which I tell people on all my tours, I'm like, don't pay so much attention looking at the top of the car. Where all the aerodynamic sensitivity of this car is under that car, the flat bottom going back to that diffuser. So I get that part. Yep. But here's this rocket ship. And again, I'm on my soapbox. Speeding penalty. he goes to the back again. And in defense of what Chris said, absolutely, he came back to the field and finished sixth. But the question I leave you with is, what the heck, if not for that speeding penalty, where would he have finished? That's all.
That's a good one. What the heck?
And
That's all.
I think Larry Mack said, and my number may be wrong, but I think he said coming into that race, there had been like 63 like pit road penalties already this year or something. Like, I don't remember what the number was. Astronomical.
And for some reason, Kansas, you're right, Larry has his Mac Nuggets. 37 of them had been from the past races at Kansas. And they were asking people, like, what makes Kansas so susceptible to these mistakes? And I don't think there's anything about its pit road or its width or anything. I just think it comes back to what we always talk about. Human beings moving too fast to get that job done. That's it.
Yeah, and I think I think they moved some timing lines too in Kansas.
They moved the pit out line. I know that. They did talk about that. They moved pit out, which actually on the one pit stop is what made Larson fall behind Elliott.
Yep.
So,
who also was as fast as we've seen him this week, if not for a bad pit stop later.
I was going to say, and then piss that away with a bad pit stop, stuck back in dirty air, and he come home 15th?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. You got a heck for us, Chad?
Yeah, we already touched my what the heckers, which was the Chastain into Barry into Gregson into Kyle Busch.
We're all over it. We're watching the same race. We're good. It's good.
Yeah.
So
we're on the same page now, Rick.
We are.
So just a couple things I wanted to get your. Oh, I'm dropping my phone and wrecking my stuff here. A couple things that I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this week out of NASCAR discussions. First one being NASCAR says they are exploring going up to 750 horsepower.
They need to. They need to give the horsepower back. I mean, let the racers race. You know what I mean? Versus just follow a leader and let it be aero dependent for everything.
Yeah.
Give them all the horsepower back.
Oh, I would love to see it back at 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's what they keep saying. Can't.
Let me I'll change that. They can. You won't like the outcome. Costs will soar. You'll lose the 3-race engine rule. And this is not me talking. This is from Robert Yates. By the way, the same Doug Yates. Doug Yates from Robert Yates, who said they have the ability to go to 750 and not really disrupt the internals of the motor that much. So
according to, I think it was Denny Hamlin. I may be wrong, but I think it was Denny Hamlin. They are paying the same. The bill for the motors has not changed in the low power motors that they are running now.
Correct.
From the 1,000 horsepower motors they were running before. These motors were supposed to save them money. He said it has not changed. So tell me how it's not as cost effective. Why can we not go back to 1,000? What makes it more expensive if going from 1,000 to what are we at now? 600?
No.
650?
No, we race at 670 and 510.
So if we're on these if the low power motors cost the same as the 1,000 horsepower motors did, what makes them more expensive? And why, if it's going to make the racing that much better, why not do it? That's an investment. The teams,
is it though?
Listen, you're the same guy who preached to me 2 weeks ago that Hendrick didn't give a flying F how much money it costs to win a championship. They would spend it.
It's true.
So why do we care? Why do we sit around talking about it'll be more expensive? It'll be more expensive. It'll be more expensive. If that makes the product better, if that makes the cars go faster, if that makes racing more fun for the drivers and to watch, why do they care about it?
Are you sure?
Well, I think it comes down to this. I think it comes down to when they say it costs too much, you got to look at the small fish that do not have the budget as a Hendrick or a Gibbs
Penske.
or 2311 or a Penske, right? So you take a team like, the 44 car or the 50 car, their budget is way different than, the big guys, right? So
Right.
RCR,
But if we're paying,
front row, Haas.
but if the cost of the motor is the same as the low power motor, how's it any different? People
But you're
just keep throwing
you're just
out.
repeating that from a Denny Hamlin podcast. You don't know that from Doug Yates himself.
Okay. But Doug Yates is not the only person that makes motors. Yes, he's one very prominent maker.
True.
But I mean, again, is he the only person saying that it will cost more? And if so, how much?
We need somebody from TRD and someone from ECR.
ECR. Yeah. I mean,
and I guess it'll cost more if you can't run those same engines three times.
That's one of my points. There's not many motor failures anymore. And Denny Hamlin even said the one that happened to him, I think it was last week, happened on its third run. So these teams have to get 3 runs out of these motors. That I know.
Yeah, that might be why they say, it's not cost effective, because now you pay that one bill and you use the same one 3 times versus a fresh build every week.
I didn't know this was going to turn into a debate podcast. What else you got, Chad? What other?
I like it.
What other breaking NASCAR news?
So the other thing that I wanted to get your opinions on is 2311 Front Row went back to court this week with NASCAR, and they had previously gotten an injunction to run. They asked the court to allow them to run as chartered teams, and the court granted that injunction initially. NASCAR has appealed that. They went to court this week, and essentially the judge said he did not make a ruling yet, but what he told 2311 and Front Row in court was, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So essentially, looking like for the first time in a while that they were leaning more towards NASCAR side, saying that NASCAR could take back the charters that 2311 and Front Row have, and they would have to run as open teams until the lawsuit is finished. Again, that ruling they have not officially issued that ruling, but based on the things that the appeals court judge said, maybe that's how it's leaning. Thoughts?
Oh, that's a messy situation.
First of all, Chris, let's tip the cap to him. You are a super fan, because this wasn't even on my radar.
Mine either.
I had not heard it. I hadn't heard about the update. Chris, you got any thoughts?
I just think it's messy. I think it's in literal terms, it's a pissing match now, right? It's a power struggle. I'm glad somebody's finally challenging the system with respect to it, right? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, if it's going to work out better for the teams that they push back, I'm glad they had the balls to do it, versus just accepting it and then getting these shitty deals at the end, I think everybody will win at the end, right? But who wants to give up the power when you got it? NASCAR doesn't want to give up the power.
I think there's 15 Cup teams. I might have to check my facts. When this first came to light, right? That means 2 of 15 didn't sign the deal. So the deal was good enough for businessmen like Roger Penske, Rick Hendrick, Joe Gibbs, Richard Childress. I'm just saying.
Now Richard has come out and he's been very vocal of, I did not want to sign this. Okay. Did not think it was a great deal. But at the end of the day, I was told I had to sign it by the end of the day or I was going to lose my charters. And I have these employees that I could not afford not to have the guaranteed money for.
Yeah.
So that's a strong arm. That's like the mafia. Pay your taxes. Let's meet in the back of the pizza shop, you know?
Let me throw one more thing in there and just ask, should we read anything into this or not? NBC announced today that Michael Jordan will be joining NBC as a contributor for their basketball coverage.
Yeah, I saw that. There was some blurb about him going back to professional basketball, but in a different role.
Right. Do
Right.
you view that is this an exit strategy?
I think that's a viewership for the NBA because the NBA is tanking on viewership right now.
I'm with Chris on that.
Yeah, viewership is down in the NBA right now, and you bring Michael back to the scene and you put him in front of the camera, people are going to want to listen.
So does this help or hurt his case with this court case at all?
I think it's
Either way.
I think it's a wash.
No,
I don't think it does either. I think it's totally separate, right?
No impact.
What about in the court of public appeals? Does this help him?
Jordan
getting
wins,
back,
man.
It's getting back in front of the people.
Jordan wins, right? Like Jordan has a big following just because he's on everything, right?
True. Very true.
Like at the end of the day, does NASCAR really want to battle Jordan and take charters away from Jordan and make a big stink about it? I doubt it. Now they're going to look really bad.
Well, apparently they hadn't cared thus far.
Yeah, because nothing really happened yet. But like, if they go and say, "Hey, give me that charter on Tuesday," that's going to create a big, big social stink, right?
Well, essentially, that's what they're doing with this. You know, they're asking the court to allow them to take those charters back.
But that way, they don't look like the bad guys. The court looked like the bad guys. But if they went in there and just strong arm said, "We're taking them," you know what I mean? That's a whole.
That's how this whole thing started. Was they told them at the beginning of the year, "You don't sign it, we taking them." And so,
right.
So
and
they took them. They took them.
Yeah.
2311 had to go to court to get an injunction to hold them. And now NASCAR appealed that injunction to try to get that overturned to make them run as open teams for the remainder of the year.
But I think it just comes back to that power struggle, right? Like, who are you to tell me? Who are you to fight me on this deal? I'm the boss. And they're like, but this is my money too. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. I want to see what happens and that opens the door for a lot of different possibilities if they win it, right? And they is the 2311 and
right.
in front row.
Yeah.
What happens if they lose this though?
Then NASCAR has their chest poked out and they go back to, "This is my sandbox. You do what I say."
And I mean, but back to your point, now essentially that's Michael Jordan's exit from the sport.
But I don't see him exiting, from the sport with that new building.
But how can you afford to run 3 and sometimes 4 open cars?
They don't. They'll just give them an opportunity to sign the charter agreements as originally stated, and you're set.
Yeah, you might have a team fall off, right?
Yeah, I mean,
without that charter, do they have 3 teams? It's kind of one of those deals. But if you have sponsorship, you can run that like a charter, right?
Correct.
I mean,
I think when all's said and done, if NASCAR wins, they just get the opportunity to make nice, sign the agreement, and they move on.
Yeah, they have too much vested now to walk away. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, NASCAR wants them
to go empty. You know what I mean?
NASCAR wants them in the sport, like Chris said. So
I guess we'll see. It's set for trial in December, so we still got time to go. And
everything will be, all the checks will be cleared then, right? So it'll be free game.
Yep. All right. Anything else you guys got that you want to talk about?
Are we checker wrecker at All-Star?
We are going to, yes, we are going to, the All-Star race is coming up, so we can do that. Yes, for sure.
Just asking. All right, I'm clear.
Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out.
Thank you.
So I went wide open, hoping for a little taste of that